Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
There is much curiosity about what's happening in Panjshir Valley in Afghanistan. There is curiosity about everything that's happening in Afghanistan, but particularly there is focus on Panjshir Valley. And somehow it has caught the imagination of a lot of people in India. So I see a lot of responses saying, please tell us what is happening, what's happening with Ahmad Shah Massoud's son, what's happening with Amrullah Saleh. And if I may say so quite humbly, there's an exaggerated notion that a big resistance to Taliban has already come up. Now, it may become a big resistance, but right now it is not a big resistance. It is, however, a flag of resistance and protest, and some fairly strong statements, both from Massoud as well as Amrullah Saleh, stronger from Amrullah Saleh than from Massoud. Young Massoud has said that he is willing to negotiate, but in a way that Afghanistan does not have an autocratic system. So we'll see what happens. But to understand, to put this in perspective, or to get the perspective on this story, you have to look at the map of Afghanistan. Look at the map of Afghanistan with its provinces. A small country by way of population, less than 4 crore people, has 34 provinces. That's more provinces that India has, with 138 crore people. So Afghanistan has very small provinces. Of those provinces also, if you look towards the northeast on the Afghanistan map, then you will find a cluster or array of really tiny provinces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like a beehive of provinces. Now, I don't exactly know why such small provinces. Maybe it's because they are geographical features, maybe because they are tribal and ethnic features, maybe it's a combination of both. So these are very, very small provinces. Of these, the smallest is Panjshir. Panjshir, 5 lions, although there is some controversy. There are people in India who claim that no, it's not from 5 lions, it's from Panchami, which was the name of the ancient name of the river flowing there, which finds mention in Mahabharata, but we don't know. The fact is that today it is believed that Panjshir is 5 lions. Now, if you look at this Panjshir province, the tiny province, you will find to the east of it, you will find Nuristan, which borders Pakistan. That is the northern part of Pakistan, Pakistan's frontier areas. Then there is Laghman. Laghman is a bit to the south, but to the east of Laghman is again Kunar, which borders Pakistan. These are states we keep hearing about. A little bit more to the south is Kapisa, a little bit to the southwest, I would say. And then somewhere under Kapisa, south of Kapisa, you will find Parwan, Charikar, a place called Charikar. If I may say so, that's about as far as I have traveled during the earlier, quote-unquote, good jihad in Afghanistan, maybe a bit beyond Charikar, to the mouth, close to the mouth of the Salang tunnel, but not quite to the tunnel, and never really crossed the tunnel, at least not on the ground. In the air, yes, but not on the ground. Now, under Charikar then is Kabul. South of Charikar is Kabul. Now, Kabul to Panjshir Valley is just about 135 kilometers. But in the mountains, distances can be very deceptive. Distances can be very deceptive because mountains can be forbidding. So, for a long time, to go from Kabul to the northern plains of Afghanistan, which is Mazar-e-Sharif and the rest, areas which then open out to Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, that is the Central Asian republics, those areas, to reach there, it was a 72-hour drive for a long time, because you have to go round and round and round. These mountains are very forbidding. They remain frozen, blocked with ice for a very long time. Then, with foreign assistance, with Soviet assistance, work started on a tunnel. Then the tunnel has gone through many modernizations, many improvements. It's not a very long tunnel. It's less than 3 kilometers, I think about 2.7 kilometers. It's called Salang Tunnel. So Salang Tunnel then opened up North Afghanistan to South Afghanistan and Central Afghanistan. So you go from Kabul to Mazar-e-Sharif, you cross the Salang Tunnel, you can do the distance in a few hours. That took 72 hours. It takes no time because it's only 135 kilometers to Panjshir, and then you carry on again. There are passes after Panjshir, one going into Badakhshan. Badakhshan is again a province to the east, bordering Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I am very careful. I'm not saying bordering Pakistan. I'm saying bordering Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, because much of Badakhshan's border is what is Gilgit-Baltistan, which is a part of the official map of India. Badakhshan is where, if you go further north a little bit, you come to the Wakhan corridor, which juts into the official map of India. Now, Panjshir Valley is very crucial because unless you cross it, your transit to the northern plains, Mazar-e-Sharif, Balkh, all those important places gets blocked. Also the provinces like Takhar, Badakhshan, bordering Tajikistan, that gets blocked. Mazar-e-Sharif borders Uzbekistan. Now these are very crucial areas and very crucial supply routes also. That's why Panjshir is important. But Panjshir is very small. Panjshir is very small, but the legend about Panjshir is very big. And the legend is the legend of Sher-e Panjshir. Now, it also rhymes. In fact, in Afghanistan, they'll say Sher-e Panjshir, or you can say Sher-e Panjshir. That is the Lion of Panjshir. So the Lion of Panjshir was none else than Ahmad Shah Massoud. Ahmad Shah Massoud was a hero and a star. He was proclaimed a national hero in Afghanistan. Landmarks have been named after him in Paris. A memorial has been set up for him in front of the American embassy. Also in Delhi, in Chanakyapuri, in the diplomatic enclave, a street has been named after Ahmad Shah Massoud. Now I believe even the Pakistanis have named a landmark after Ahmad Shah Massoud. So Ahmad Shah Massoud is known to be a hero of Afghanistan, a fighter, a revolutionary. Now, he was a Mujahideen. He was born in 1953, and he died in 2001 at the age of 48. He was among the most successful of Mujahideen commanders. He was so successful that in mid-80s, in 1985, the Soviets and the Afghan army together launched a very major offensive to take Panjshir Valley. And you can imagine how much strength the Soviets had at that point. They had air power, they had helicopter gunships, they had tanks, all kinds of things. And yet he was able to beat back that offensive. And that is what built that great legend of Ahmad Shah Massoud. That Ahmad Shah Massoud in 1985 defeated this big assault by the Soviets, because Soviets needed also passage to the north, because that is how they got into their country, because Uzbekistan was then a part of the Soviet Union. And that was the highway to the Soviet Union. In fact, Soviet forces had come into Afghanistan by crossing the bridge at Termez from Uzbekistan into the northern provinces of Afghanistan. Now, this was blocked by Ahmad Shah Massoud and his guerrillas. Ahmad Shah Massoud was variously ranked among the greatest guerrillas of the 20th century with Ho Chi Minh, Che Guevara. He always said that he was more influenced by Che Guevara. The interesting thing was that while he led an Islamist group, he had had modern education, unlike most other leaders of Mujahideen groups. So he had gone to a school in Kabul called Franco-Afghan Lycée Istiqlal. His father himself was an officer in the army. So not a usual rural illiterate family from which many of these Maulvis came. He wasn't a Maulvi. After finishing his school, where he learned fluent French, in the course of time he learned pretty good English as well. So he had fluent French. That was his blessing. He went to Kabul University to learn engineering. So he was a modern person, but he led an Islamist group, but of a moderate type. So his group was very different from the groups of, say, Hikmatyar or the group of Abdul Rasul Sayyaf and people like that. This was a very modern Afghan group. Also, his strength mostly came from people of Tajik ancestry or Tajik ethnicity. Now, Afghanistan has many tribes, and many warlords controlled many tribes. Tajiks are the tribe to the north. And as I've said often enough on Afghanistan, that for most of the tribes in Afghanistan that are found in Afghanistan, there are more cousins of the same tribe found in an adjoining country. So he was a Tajik leader. Tajiks are a strong group there, but there, not everywhere. What he also did was, because he was a modern leader, he produced modern leaders. So among people who learned from him and who grew under his care was Amrullah Saleh. Amrullah Saleh again was a modern, educated, young Afghan, a Tajik. He also became a fighter, and he also became a believer in a more moderate Islam and a more democratic system where women had equal rights, where you could dance at weddings, where you could watch football matches, play football matches in stadiums, instead of using those as execution grounds for execution spectacle. So they stood up to the Taliban. And it was in 2001, in fact, just as we say 9/11, because we use the American way of putting dates. 9/11 is September is the ninth month of the year, and 11th is the date. That is when the airplane slammed into the Twin Towers of World Trade Center and Pentagon and elsewhere. But if you put the dates in the subcontinental style, then say on 9/9, that is 2 days before 9/11, three Arab assassins who were later tracked for their Tunisian origin. Although they claimed to be Moroccan, they claimed to be French, Belgian passports, French passports, all that was found fake. Three of them assassinated Ahmad Shah Massoud. They had come in on the pretense of being journalists and seeking interview. Now, everybody knew that Ahmad Shah Massoud was a target. The Indian authorities knew, the American authorities knew. Everybody was helping the Panjshiris those days. All these countries, including India, were helping Ahmad Shah Massoud and his Northern Alliance because he was a force of modernity and he had defied the Taliban. He had not let the Taliban at their peak come into Panjshir, just as he had not left the Russians, the Soviets, come into Panjshir at their peak in Afghanistan. So everybody was helping him. He had been warned, but somehow he got tricked into it and he was assassinated. It so happened that within 2 days, as we know, 9/11 happened. It's widely believed, if you see a lot of the books written on the 9/11 attacks and the life of Osama bin Laden, it's widely believed that this was Osama bin Laden's way of thanking the Taliban for all the support they had given him for being there, for building Al-Qaeda, and also for carrying out the 9/11 attacks, because that was seen to be a big thing. So just because before the attacks, he gave them a gift that, look, your biggest enemy is Ahmad Shah Massoud. I've got you rid of him. See, what a gift from me. And he used his Al-Qaeda suicide bombers who were Tunisian to come in on the pretense of being journalists to do this. So that is the legend of Ahmad Shah Massoud. His son, Ahmad Massoud, today is 32 years old. Ahmad Massoud at that point was only 12, but Ahmad Shah Massoud's legend had got built. 2001, he got assassinated, 9/11 happened, then the Americans came in and his family was looked after by forces friendly to the West and also by Government of India, among many others. So his son went to study overseas. He did his schooling in Iran, but after finishing his schooling in Iran, he went to Sandhurst at the Royal Military Academy and learned to be an army officer. Sandhurst, no less. After that, he got his graduate degree in war studies at King's College London, following which he also got a master's in 2016 in international politics from City University of London. And after that, in 2019, he joined politics when he was 29 years old. So he's like a successor of Ahmad Shah Massoud. Amrullah Saleh, who was the first vice president of Afghanistan, and before that, in fact, he earned his fame as the head of the Afghan Secret Service, NDS. And he was its most redoubtable chief. He was also the ISI's most hated adversary and most feared adversary also. He is the one whose agents first found out that Osama bin Laden was being harbored somewhere in the frontier area in Pakistan, and he let the Americans know, in fact, he also let General Musharraf know, but General Musharraf brushed him aside. Obviously, General Musharraf was, what he was being told was not surprise to him, because he knew that Osama bin Laden was being harbored there, but he found that out. Amrullah Saleh has been among the biggest opponents to the idea of making a settlement through negotiations with the Taliban, because he's seen the Taliban always as an evil force with whom he cannot coexist. In fact, when President Ghani was disappearing along with his key people to Tajikistan first and then to UAE via Oman, there were initial rumors that Amrullah Saleh has also escaped. But soon enough, he put out a tweet saying, I have not escaped, I will never escape, I'll be interred in this soil, and I am here to fight the Taliban. In fact, it was a very strong very strong tweet. He said, I will never, ever, under no circumstances bow to the Taliban terrorists. I will never share a ceiling with them. I will never be under the same ceiling as the Taliban. So instead of leaving the country, he just left Kabul, and where did he go? He went to Panjshir Valley. And we saw just yesterday pictures of him looking quite relaxed, although a little bit scruffy, playing volleyball with children in Panjshir Valley. And he's been saying, and Ahmad Masood has been saying, that they've got 6,000, 7,000 people. They are raising the resistance. They are not letting the Taliban come into the valley. And what is the way to stop any force from coming into the valley? It is to block the tunnel. So this new Northern Alliance now, it's very small compared to what it was in the past, now claims that they blocked the tunnel, they blocked the highway, the Taliban are not there. They claim that they've taken some provinces, but these are all dodgy claims, and these are also shifting situations. We don't know what's happening. Amrullah Saleh is somebody who's seen death from close. There have been many attempts on his life. He's also not an old man. He was born in 1972. So he's not that old. He's quite a young person by political standards, but he's willing to fight. If you see his record, when he worked with Ahmad Shah Massoud at a very young age, Ahmad Shah Massoud sent him to Dushanbe because Tajikistan was always a country friendly with Ahmad Shah Massoud. Why? Because Tajikistan has Tajiks. And also, rulers in none of these Central Asian republics, or the stans as the Americans call them, want the influence of the Taliban-style Islam into their country. So they will make alliances with anybody who's able to block it. Ahmad Shah Massoud was capable of doing it. That's why Tajikistan was his ally, and that's why Ahmad Shah Massoud sent Amrullah Saleh to the most important place that he could think of, that is as his ambassador to Dushanbe, which is the capital of Tajikistan. In fact, even India had set up a medical facility in Tajikistan, which sometimes looked after the wounded from Ahmad Shah Massoud's group. When Ahmad Shah Massoud was assassinated, in fact, he did not die instantly. He was carried from where he was attacked. He was carried from there to this Indian medical facility in a place called Farkhor in Tajikistan. And where I say Indian medical facility, that is a Indian military field hospital. That is where Ahmad Shah Massoud was taken for treatment, but unfortunately did not survive. So he was his ambassador to Tajikistan, and he was on his way up in that hierarchy since then. In fact, there is an interview. If you Google him, you will find an interview on CBS. Now, Amrullah Saleh. Amrullah Saleh, I told you, was the head of NDS, which is the Afghan top security organization, top intelligence organization, the counterpart of RAW, and the biggest enemy of ISI. In fact, NDS and ISI have been fighting a war much more violent than RAW and ISI ever would. Now, of course, the picture has changed, and Pakistanis think that they own the intelligence in Afghanistan as well, with the Taliban there, and let's see how that goes. But Amrullah Saleh locked horns with the Pakistanis to the extent that after the latest assassination attempt on him, he even shared a picture on his Twitter page, very lively Twitter page. I followed him for a very long time. He follows me. We might have exchanged some direct messages once in a while. He put a picture, the famous in India and infamous in Pakistan. If you really want to worry the Pakistanis or anger the Pakistanis, you share the picture of the surrender in Dhaka, the surrender ceremony in Dhaka. General Niazi signing up his surrender declaration. So he shared that picture to say, you Pakistanis think we are afraid of your army. This is how your army always will end up. So he was a big enemy of the Pakistanis and he suffered many attempts on his life, but there were two important ones and the most recent ones in 2019. One on 28 July 2019, when a human bomb blew himself up in front of his office. And in that commotion, while a lot of bodies and pieces of bodies were lying, 3 terrorists stormed into his office and started shooting. Now, he had a charmed life. He survived without an injury, but more than 20 of his staff and others were killed, and more than 50 were injured. He miraculously survived. Then again, he was undeterred. He carried on with his stuff. In the same year on 9th September, the first attack was 28 July, the second was 9th September. He was going out with his son when a car bomb blew up just as his car was passing by or his entourage was passing by because he had a security detail. Once again, more than 10 people were killed, most of them as security guards. He had injuries. He had injuries on his arm. He had a burn on his face. He shared pictures of himself like that the next day and again said, I am not afraid. So he is a tough guy. He's now in Panjshir Valley. Ahmad Masood, the son of Ahmad Shah Masood, the Western educated, very bright, very articulate fellow, he also wrote an article just now in Washington Post, an op-ed article, saying that we can fight, but we don't have enough to fight the Taliban. And our fight again is the fight of the entire democratic world. So please give us aid. He's asking the Americans, the Brits, the French, everybody else. The family has a French connect. I'm not using French connection because that means something else. That metaphor means the movie was about something else. So they have a French connect. Not just because Ahmad Shah Masood was a French speaker, but Ahmad Shah Masood was also somebody who had been patronized by French philosopher Bernard Henry Levy, who later got involved with Kurdistan as well, with Kurdistan Peshmerga movement as well, the Kurdistan liberation movement as well. So Bernard Henry Levy actually even visited Panjshir in 1998 when Ahmad Shah Masood was fighting the Taliban. And in fact, his son starts that article in the Washington Post by quoting something that he had heard Bernard Henry Levy say to his father and his key lieutenants in a cave in Panjshir Valley. Again, something to the effect that this is the battle for the entire democratic world. So he's making an appeal. But when you see that article and when you see that he's also saying that he's willing to negotiate an honorable settlement, you know that the military situation today is not what it was in Ahmad Shah Masood's time. For a bunch of reasons. One, at this point, international support for the Panjshiri alliance is not even a fraction of what it used to be then. Second, the Russians today are very much friends of the Taliban and they seem to think that Taliban are there to stay. Even the Americans now, it looks like, the Americans and the British have made their peace with Taliban because as we talk, we've also seen reports that the new head of CIA actually just yesterday, Bill Burns had a secret meeting with Maulvi Baradar, who for all practical purposes is the ruler of Afghanistan because Habatullah Akhundzada, who's supposed to be the emir, he hasn't been heard of, he hasn't been seen for quite some time. So nobody knows where he is. So Mullah Baradar is now like the head of state of Afghanistan. So CIA chief has come and met him. At the same time, Boris Johnson has also issued a statement that Taliban will now be judged by their actions. So you can see that not just China, Russia, Pakistan, but also US, Britain, and maybe the rest of Europe is now accepting the inevitability of the Taliban being in power. So the chances right now of this alliance being able to again get sufficient military strength to fight and keep the Taliban at bay are limited. It is possible, however, that if they stand steadfast, they'll be able to get a good outcome from negotiations, and that is the best case scenario. I only hope that it does not become a fight to the finish kind of situation, because these are good people. These are good people, and they are a force for modernity. And it is good for Afghanistan that if they survive, they also get an honorable deal, and they continue to play a role in shaping the new form of Afghanistan, whatever it happens to become.